right, if you'll prepare yourself, put your hand over your eyes. I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
And over your ears. I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
And over your heart. And then extend your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that you are here on purpose for a purpose. You are here on purpose for a purpose. And it's not complicated. It's not complicated. You don't have to get a special workbook or go to a seminar. You don't have to divorce your mate. You don't have to live in an ashram. You don't have to do anything to know your purpose in life. You're here on purpose because God loves you. That's why you're here, because God loves you. You're here for a purpose, and that's to love God. That's your purpose. You know, at this church, we believe everything is God. So our purpose is to love everything. We believe that all people are God. Our purpose is to love all people. We believe at this church that the solution and the problem is God. And it's our purpose is to stay in love throughout our life. Well, we're in a series right now. We're completing it. It's the last day of this series that we've been doing on the light that we are, the love really that we are. And we started out with Bodhi Day, and we looked at the Buddhist tradition to see how illumined we could become through that nourishment. And then we went on to Hanukkah, and we went on to winter solstice, and then to Christmas. And today we're at Kwanzaa. Now in Kwanzaa, we're not only going to get to know the light that we are, but how to spread this light that we are around us, because that's the purpose of our love. It's not only to have light and love in our heart and our mind and our being, but to spread it to other people who are on the planet. Well, Kwanzaa is a holiday that is celebrated in Africa for first fruits. It's a harvest holiday. Now, with all of the traditions that we've done so far, and certainly this one again, we're going to look at it through the eyes of religious science. We're not trying to be any of these holidays. We're trying to learn from these holidays. This holiday it's just like all of them. They all teach truth. And it's such a powerful demonstration of religious science. It started during a very dark time. It started during the time of the riots in Los Angeles. And from those riots, from the pain of those riots, came this beautiful holiday. The founder of this holiday is a man named Maulana Karinga. He was a UCLA graduate student. And it hurt his heart. It hurt his heart that what he saw was happening in his community. Now, he understood completely why people were rioting. He understood it. He understood that the abuse had just gone on too long and the injustices were unbearable. And his community snapped. They snapped like the gay people at Stonewall snapped. The Chinese people at Tiananmen Square snapped. You and I snap sometimes when things go on too long. We say things we don't want to say. We do things that we don't want to do. And that's what happens. There are women sitting in prisons all over the United States this Sunday morning because they snapped from the injustices of their abusers. It's a lesson for us to do what we can when we can, when things in our life are getting out of hand, so that we don't snap in that way. Well, Dr. Karinga found the wisdom of our founder, Ernest Holmes, who said this: turn away from the howlers. Now, I'm not suggesting Dr. Karinga knew Ernest Holmes, but that is a universal practice. It's a universal practice. When we want to create something beautiful, we have to turn away from the howlers. And so in his heart, he said, rioters, go ahead and riot. Racists, go ahead and be racist. I'm going to look for a way to affirm that my people are whole, perfect, and complete. And more importantly than that, that they know it, that they are whole, perfect, and complete. So I'm going to go to my ancestors. And he went back to Africa. And he found this holiday called Kwanzaa. And he brought it back. Many of the principles are Kwanzaa principles from Africa. He brought it back. And he added another A on it for African Americans. It's a first fruit. It has principles that affirm the enduring spirit of all human beings. Now, make no mistake, this is not a religious holiday. All the other holidays that we studied are religious holidays. This is a cultural holiday. It is by African Americans for African Americans to uplift us. And yet, the wisdom from this holiday can nourish each and every one of us, no matter what our heritage, no matter what our background. It can bring nourishment to us if we're careful, if we don't reduce it to a Hallmark holiday. You know what I mean? If we really learn from it and we really study from it. Well, with all of the holidays that we've done so far, we have a beautiful altar that is before us, and we've asked somebody to come forward and bless that altar. So I'm going to ask Tanya Beverly, one of the co-chairs of the Kwanzaa celebration, to come up, and Reverend Brenda is going to come up with her to bless this altar.
Habaragani. Habaragani.
Habaragani.
Habaragani in Kiswahili means what's the good news? And the good news for today is the principle of Ujima. Can you say that? Ujima.
Ujima.
Ujima, collective works and responsibility. And it is my honor to present this morning the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. So we're going to light the candles. Blessing the altar begins with the lighting of the 7 candles, also known as the Mashuma Saba. The candles are placed in a holder called a kanara. The colors of the candles represent the black, the people of African descent; the red, the perception of struggles of African people and the willingness to overcome obstacles; the green, fertility for the hope for the future. The 7 candles represent the 7 principles. So we'll light the first candle, Umoja. Can you say that? Umoja. We'll light the outer red candle, Kujichagulia.
Kujichagulia.
Self-determination. We'll light the outer green candle, Ujima.
Ujima.
Collective works and responsibilities. We'll light the next red candle, Ujima.
Ujima.
Cooperative economics. We'll light the next green candle, Nia.
Nia.
Purpose. Kaumba, the next red candle,
Kaumba.
Creativity. And we light our last candle, the last green candle, and it is Imani.
Imani.
Which means faith. The Nguzo Saba are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. Although the official celebration of Kwanzaa happens once a year, the principles can be used throughout the year. I have an altar in my home that stays up all year to remind me of these amazing principles, and I even meditate on them. So I'm going to leave you with the Nguzo Saba chant. Imani, Umoja, Kujichagulia, Ujima, Ujama, Kaumba, Nia, Nia, Nguzo Saba. Ashe.
Ashe. How beautiful is that? Well, today we're, as Tanya said, we're at the 3rd day of Kwanzaa, and the principle is Ujima. So I want to read the longer version of this principle. Collective work and responsibility, to build and maintain our community together, and to make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems, and to solve them together. Now, Ujima for me, it means oneness. It means unity. It's a reminder, it's an understanding that these bodies that we have are simply for decoration. That's what they're there for. They're not there to keep us separate. They're not there to take somebody else and make them other than us. They're simply there to make us more interesting. When I finish solving my problem, I need to stop thinking I'm done with my work. I'm not. When I finish solving my problem, I look to help other people solve their problems. Now, Dr. Karinga was very smart. You notice that he didn't say solve your sister's problems and brother's problems for them. He said with them, to be collectively in help. See, we are not meant to be a John Wayne society. We are not meant to do everything by ourselves. Ujima reminds us that we want to build and maintain our communities together. And part of what has to happen to have that work is we have to start learning how to listen to one another. We're not good at it. And God knows, in these times, what's going on in Ferguson, what's going on in New York, what's going on in our families. I've got drama in my family right now, and nobody's listening to anybody. Everybody's just talking, just saying what they think should happen, and when it should happen, and what can't happen, and why it can't happen. And nobody's actually listening to one another. You and I can train ourselves to begin to be better listeners, to not jump in right away with something that we think needs to be said. We can, every time we hear ourselves say something that says, we've tried that before and it didn't work, notice that you're not being a good listener when that happens. Or when you say immediately, where are you going to get the money to do something like that? You're not being a good listener when that happens. There are certain red flags that we can train ourselves as we're becoming better listeners on the planet. See, we're so speeded up, we can't just stop and let somebody talk. We're so speeded up, we're thinking of what we're going to say the next minute, and then we get about the business of saying it. Ujima asks us to build community. Now, as I said before, this is a holiday that's for African Americans by African Americans. But today, as we talk about building community, I want to increase and enlarge the definition of community to include our families of choice, our spouse, our kids, our extended family, maybe even our family of friends, no matter what your ancestry is. One way we can begin to create and build and maintain community is in our families is by building a family mission statement. Now that can sound stuffy. It can sound like a mission statement belongs in a boardroom, not in a living room. But I promise you, if you celebrate Ujima by gathering your people around the kitchen table in your family and answer this one question, why do we exist? Why do we exist? And listen for the answers without judgment, without trying to make it smaller. Why do we exist? Maybe somebody in your family says, well, I exist for romance. Maybe somebody says, our family exists for fun. Maybe it's for economic security. That's why our family exists. Maybe one of your kids says, our family exists so I can get an allowance and get an Xbox. It doesn't matter what they say. Just write it all down, everything they say. Now see, we make spirituality very difficult, but we don't need to. If everybody in this room would commit to celebrating Ujima by building a stronger family through making a mission statement, is it the only way? No. Is it the best way? Probably not. But it's one simple way. And if we don't make it a throwaway, we can make our family stronger in our life. See, and when we get this, we get it all written down, we just think of some larger picture words. And we write those larger picture words around what was just put out there by your family. And then you keep it firm before you. See, it's sort of like what Tanya said. She has an altar and she uses it all year. You can make your Ujima family mission statement available to you all year. And then when it's Kwanzaa next time, you bring it out and you tweak it. See, we are a changing people. Ernest Holmes said, we're either changing or you're not breathing. But here's what happens. We don't notice that we're changing. We don't notice it. We stay the same. We take a snapshot of each other when we're meant to be a moving picture. Just keep moving through your picture. And next Kwanzaa, you take a look at it and do whatever tweaking is necessary. I want to talk a minute about this idea of making our sisters' problems and our brothers' problems our problems. We want to be clear. We want to be crystal clear that this is not a call to codependence. Codependent people think they know better. Dr. Karinga says, together we're going to solve these problems. You don't need to solve my problem for me. You can assist me in solving my problem. See, codependent people, they think they know what's best, and they have no problem telling somebody what they think is best. And you can even get mad at codependent people, and they don't really care because they're so convinced they know what's best. The only time they get upset is when you don't follow their advice. But in truth, if we can begin to sit down with our friends and help them in a different way. See, codependent people forget that everybody has God and has a journey of their own. And none of our journeys are straight and easy. They could be, but we don't allow them to be. None of us do. And so what we want to remember is that when people are sad, that's part of their journey. When people are frustrated, that's part of their journey. Everybody has God, and everybody has a journey. Often the best way to help our sisters and brothers to build a stronger life is to share what we've done, to be people of attraction, not promotion. And that's why it's so important for us to live a life of authenticity, for us to be able to say, yes, I'm falling down, or I've fallen down, and here's how I'm getting up, or here's how I've gotten up in the past. See, but when we walk around like, oh, I'm just something, no problem with me, I never have any problem. My money trip is together, my home life is fabulous, my car runs all the time. See, when we walk around like that, we're not that much used to, we can't really illumine to other people. But when we share how it is we picked ourselves back up, that's Ujima. That's helping our sisters and brothers to be a better life. But the most powerful way we can do that is to pray, is to pray for one another. See, when we pray in this church, we don't pray for God to do anything God is differently than God has already done. We fully understand God's done God's job, and everything we need is here now. We get that. And so our prayer is to see the manifestation of that which has already been given to us, and to not get bogged down in the temporary, but to know the truth that is eternal and eternally good. See, our health right now in this moment is temporary. Our bank account right now in this moment is temporary. Our loneliness right now in this moment is temporary. Our relationship issues right now in this moment are temporary. God is eternally good. And when we keep that pray for ourselves and for others, we can begin to help build stronger and maintain stronger communities. See, when our sisters and brothers are in deep pain It's our job to pray. It is not our job to yammer on about spiritual truth to them. It's not our job. Now, there may come a time when we want to share spiritual truth with somebody who's coming out of their pain. But when somebody's in deep pain, it's not our job to yammer on about spiritual truth. Our job when somebody's in deep pain is to hold them, to make a casserole for them, to listen to that sorry story one more time till you think your ears are going to fall right off your head. That's what we do with people who are in deep pain. And then, all the time, we're knowing the truth. We're knowing the truth strongly. We don't let their pain get into us. That's how we build strong and maintain strong spiritual communities. That's how we practice Ujima. Let us take this message into prayer. There's only one power. It's the power of love. It's the power of joy. It's the power of oneness. It's the power of light. So I keep my attention focused on the light. I keep my attention focused on the eternal good that is God. No matter what it shows up as, I just keep my attention right where it belongs. I give thanks for that. I release this word into the law, and together we say, and so it is.